I'll always remember my first hunt, my first pheasant, and my first bourbon. My father-in-law John introduced me to all three. Trekking through the fields of South Dakota, grass waving in the wind, and the sky that seemed to stretch on for miles. Sometimes we would talk, sometimes we wouldn't, but not every moment requires conversation. There's something sacred about silence, especially in the wide open spaces. It's when the distractions of the world fade away that your senses really come alive. Watching the dogs anxiously quarter, the smell of the trampled switchgrass, the bite of the cold air on your face. I can still feel the flutter in my stomach, not knowing when the ringneck was gonna flush. Then suddenly it would rise up to catch the wind, and I would hold my breath, steady my gun to take the shot. There is nothing else like it, with the exception of sitting around the campfire later, sipping bourbon. It was then that my father-in-law would start telling stories, some that seemed to last all night. He loved to talk about history, hunting, and even bird dogs. He could recall every detail, whether you wanted to or not. Places, dates, times, his mind was like the cloud. Sitting under the stars, the fire burning, I learned a lot about the man who raised my wife, what he believed in, and what he valued. He's one of the most genuine and giving men I've ever met. Patient, kind, willing to listen, and slow to anger. He's the kind of father I wished I'd had, the kind of father I aspire to be. I learned a lot about living from him as well. He knew how to enjoy life, whether belting out a doo-wop song, serenading my mother-in-law, or dancing in the kitchen. He lived life out loud. It was because of his love for music and his propensity for singing that I began calling him Johnny Fever. John never tempered his enthusiasm for things that he loved: a good song, a good cigar, and good bourbon. After 20 years, he slowed down quite a bit. His memory is just not as sharp. His mobility is limited. It's been hard to watch. Our hunting days may be over, but his legacy remains, living on in every life that he's touched, especially mine. This bourbon is dedicated to the man that treated me like his son and became the father I never had. He didn't have to be there for my first steps, for me to be there for his last. It's everything in between that made us family.